Hello, everybody. Say hi, Brandon.
Hi, Brandon.
Sunday. Ah. All right, so today we're gonna do something new because we had recorded How You Crazy Part 4, and then K-pop decided to explode. So we came up with this fantastic K-pop talk, and the first one we're gonna do is the deal with EXO. No, not just about Chris and this contract thing, and we'll get there. We'll get there. But we figured if we have cute hats on while we talk about this, you can't really hate us.
Yeah,
Maybe
you can't hate us. You can't hate us. Look at this hat. You can't hate me.
we're both like homage to Tao right now with the bear hats. Mine is even actually a panda. And I have a galaxy shirt on. Not on purpose, actually. Well, the hat was, the shirt wasn't. Anyway, K-pop talk. So let's talk about the deal with EXO, Sunday.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
What is the deal with EXO?
So the deal is that at this point, I'm sure everybody knows that Chris's lawyers have filed a lawsuit. And basically, the lawsuit is that because he has a problem with the contract that he originally signed, and that SM is treating it as if they have no um, interest in adjusting it for their future ventures together. And as an artist, he has a problem with that. And I understand
I do too.
that.
So,
Now, the problem is everybody's treating this as if him trying to get out of the contract is him trying to leave EXO altogether, which is probably not the case. It's probably just that he wants to get the contract details renegotiated. And in order to do that, you have to file a lawsuit. That's just the way things work.
also true. So we got to think about it from this perspective. When did they debut? 3 years ago? 4?
Go ahead.
I think it was 3. We're just going to go on the assumption of 3 and go from there.
Yeah.
So 3 years ago, when they all signed this contract, whether it was the boys themselves or their representative, meaning a parent or a lawyer hired by their parents, the contract was fine. However, in 3 years, they have grown. They have new things they want to try. They also have lots more fans to deal with, which means that sometimes what they have to do in their schedules are not going to be ideal for the way they feel at the moment. They were perfect 3 years ago. They got to debut. Everything was great. Now it's not. Now, we have two sides of this, which is Chris getting hate because, oh my god, he's trying to leave, which is not necessarily true. And then we have the people that are like, SM, you can't break up EXO, and if you break them up, I'm not going to be fans anymore, which is really unfair to the other 11.
It's very.
I personally feel that because he's trying to renegotiate this contract, I don't think he's just doing it for himself. I also think he's doing it for the betterment of the other 5 in M as well as the 6 in K. Because they're going to want to grow, people.
And you have to realize that part of their contracts is how much money they're making off of their joint ventures with SM. And the amount of money you would make as a trainee and as a debuting artist may not be fair to the artist that is at the caliber and level of where EXO is at today. So having a problem with that sounds pretty reasonable.
They're not the first group to go through this, not just SM was, but all of K-pop. And I do want to say that I applaud the Cassiopeia and the Elves for being like, oh my god, EXO fans, here's a hug. Because they need it right now.
So to be fair, it seems like this is all due to the way SO writes up contracts for their artists, and perhaps SM has to really look at that.
Well, and we also have to take into account that in these contracts, they do have adjustment terms, and they're probably really long out, which isn't necessarily fair to the artist if they actually make something of themselves. I think standard for the industry is actually probably like 10 years right now. So if you think about it, making the same money, G-Dragon, for example, when they debuted, the money G-Dragon made is definitely not the same 10 years ago as it was now. I'm not saying that's been 10 years, but you know what I mean?
Right.
In the case of EXO, they went from 2 years ago they could walk through an airport and not be mobbed to now they can't walk an inch and not be mobbed. So, wanting to renegotiate your contract within a reasonable time span is not actually unreasonable.
By definition, it is actually reasonable.
Right. So other than this contract thing, there are other EXO issues. First of all, fangirls be fangirling. Don't get me wrong, I'm an EXO fangirl. I love EXO, and we all know that I don't fangirl in particularly hardcore manners. But you have to realize that anything you say...
Not in front of people. I see it, actually. Don't be letting her lie to y'all. She does fangirl. She fangirls.
I think the most you've ever seen me fangirl is when I saw G-Dragon, and I went like this. Because I did.
We were actually, I believe it was after we finished doing the last video that got taken down.
Oh yeah, no. Because it was all the feels, and Tanya was just like, oh my god, all the feels. So not
also, your bias wrecker was definitely making you fangirl pretty hard. Not gonna call anybody out.
B-Bomb is my Block B bias wrecker, everybody. Now you know. Threw it out there. Am I going to tell you who my actual bias in Block B is? Although that entire group...
I'll figure it out. Let's just be real. Let's be real about it. I think we all already know who her bias is in Block B.
Maybe not. But here's the thing with Block B. Block B, all of them, there's one bias, and then there's 6 bias wreckers. Although bias wrecker number 1 is B-Bomb. Anyway, we're going to move on because this is EXO time. EXO! So I was talking to somebody on Twitter today, or rather, I responded to something they said, and I really legitimately want people to realize that you need to take responsibility for things that you say or put out on social networking. And I'm going to read this for a quote, and I know I'm not going to call this person out, but this person literally said, for once I actually love the fact that something surrounding me. So, please kill whoever's in charge. I get that you're halfway across the world and can't actually get to an SM building, and I get that you probably don't actually mean anybody's dead, but the fact that you said the words to kill whoever's in charge, don't wish death on other people. Honestly. And it got worse over the conversation, but they even admitted that they were being hateful, and whether or not you intend on anyone actually being dead, you have to realize that other people do read what you say and may or may not take it upon themselves. And to further try and justify yourself by saying Sasaengs don't read Twitter, you're wrong. How do you think they keep track of one another, or where their favorite group is, or have you seen how fast those pictures end up on social media?
It's pretty quick. They get up there pretty quick.
They do. So to tell me that what you typed or said is not going to be seen or heard by other people is totally wrong. I'm just saying, try and be a little bit more responsible with the words that come out of your mouth. I get that people are angry at SM, but that doesn't mean you should wish harm or death on other people.
And while we're speaking about how your words affect people on social media, please, I don't care. Let's be real. I ship a couple of members from EXO. I'm not going to say which ships I ship, but I ship them. Please, please, don't go on their freaking personal accounts. Don't tag them in your tweets and Instagrams about their ships. They don't want to see that. It makes them uncomfortable. It's so disrespectful. Like, I don't care what you fantasize about. Like, I probably fantasize about it too. Let's be real. But come on, y'all. Like, there are people. There are real ass people. And yeah, they're celebrities. But they're still friggin' people, yeah. Come on
Two
now.
two notes on that. Particularly the Dara and Chaniel conversation. If they end up being friends with each other, great. You can't force them to be. So tagging her on his stuff and tagging him on her stuff isn't gonna do anything. And also, when you cannot keep your comments to yourself enough that your idol or bias or whoever feels the need to remove what they posted on social media, which has happened several times in the past 2 weeks, you're being.
Yeah, they're calling you out for posting all those hateful remarks on Chris's picture of him with his jeans with his leg cut short. So what? Let him cut it the leg of his jeans short.
People make their own decisions. That's what he wants to wear, fine. But even stuff like a simple picture that they post and you gotta say things that you can't keep to yourself, which probably should be kept to yourself, and then they delete it, you're affecting them and not in a good way. And speaking of affecting people, let's also get into the fact that name calling, okay? Whether it's to their face or on social media, they obviously see it. Don't do it. Even if you mean it in a very loving and affectionate way, they may not understand that.
Yeah, if you call them a little shit, like, they may not get that you mean it in a really loving way. Like, they may not get that you're calling them a little shit, like they're totally the love of your life. They may think that you are calling them really shitty. And that's really shitty. Really.
And the last thing I have to throw out there before I'll ask you if there's anything else left that you have to, we need to talk about when people get physical. And yes, I do realize that not all EXO fans are sassing or willing to, try and touch them. But when you smack somebody and you get to the point that you're physically hurting the person you like or the people around the person you like, you've gone too far. And we can go further into that, into the fact that if people were respectful when they are walking around town, if they were in an airport, you give them a respectable distance, they may actually stop and let you take pictures rather than just trying to run away from you. And if they're running away from you, don't follow. If they're running, that generally means, hey, I'm uncomfortable, leave me alone.
Yeah. That's when you're chasing them. And if you're not playing a game of tag, you shouldn't be chasing anybody. You're a creep. I'm sorry. I love you, K-pop lovers and fans and brothers and sisters. But if you're chasing after your idols, that's not right.
My favorite fangirls are the ones that are like, oh, that's cool. They just walked past me. Or they see them walking towards them, click picture without getting in their face, and then, that was pretty cool. You don't have to run after them.
Yeah.
You want to say, hey, I love you, and that they're cool with that. Don't give them bubbles. They have bubbles, people. Give them bubbles.
Give them, 3 to 5, maybe even 10 feet. Cut a wide berth. Let them move about their lives and go about their business. If they decide to stop for you, then that's great. You just got a treat. Write a fan account, post it, tag. I want to read it. But if they're busy, they have somewhere to go. Let them go. Let it go. I'm not about to say Frozen. I promise.
So, I don't know. There's so much more we can get into, but basically, the deal with EXO. Calm yourselves. Until we hear anything or know anything, keep your hands to yourself. Try and be respectful of other people.
Yeah, and until we know the whole story, it's all rumors. Until we know for sure from either side, it's all rumors and speculation.
My brain was having fun earlier though, and we totally know that this is not the case. But I'm like, well, if Chris actually does leave EXO, plot twist, debut with Henry. Yes, I do get that Henry is part of Super Junior M. However, he's also very successful solo, and Henry has already tweeted his support of EXO in general and spoken out against, the contracts that he has with SM. It's not uncommon. This happened with 2PM. This happened with all different kinds of groups across the board. So take a moment. Love EXO, but don't go crazy.
Don't lose your shit, y'all. Don't lose your shit. Keep your shit to yourself.
As my favorite post on the internet says, you're at an 11. We need you about a 6. All right, everybody. You have something you want us to talk about? Let us know. We got comments. You want to hate on us? Hey, look.
Right down there. Right there.
You want to support us? Guess what? There's comments. We do love you. We do love EXO. We wish Chris the best in whatever he chooses to do, and that is pretty much all we can say. Until next time. Bye.
Bye bye. Bye, y'all.